Jamie, and I'm the Unicorn Recruiter. I've worked in global talent acquisition for 15 years, both as an in-house and as an agency recruiter. I'm also a leadership development coach, and I now help companies hire their top talent, also known as unicorns, and help job seekers find their next position. Join me each week for tips and tricks and how to navigate not only finding your next position, but also career development. This is the Unicorn Recruiter Podcast. Welcome to the Unicorn Recruiter Podcast. Today I'm going to talk about who gets promoted. Career development, right? So as an internal recruiter, I saw a lot, right? So I saw not only external hires and their interview process, but I also saw internal hires and how people got promoted. And there are a couple of things that kind of stand out. And I used to joke, but it's still true that people don't get promoted because they are excellent managers. Like there's no manual, there's no guide. Like people don't just get promoted because they're managers or people managers specifically. People get promoted because they're technically good at their job. So I would see people that were really phenomenal accountants and financial analysts that all of a sudden they were managing a team and they had absolutely no idea how to manage a team. There's a couple of things that if you are looking to get promoted that you can do as an individual contributor, as an IC, that will, one, help you prepare for that next manager role or for your first manager role. But two, it's going to set you out apart from people that are just really technically good at their job. So first and foremost, the number one reason that I saw people not get promoted is because they never, ever, ever, ever told anyone that they were looking for any type of career progression. And I am being absolutely dead serious. I had people that would call me and get so mad that they weren't considered for a manager position when I, one, worked in a company with thousands of employees. I had no idea who they were. And two, they had never told anyone. I worked for companies where we had formal career development plans. We had succession planning. We had things in writing. And I would look at their profile and there would be no record of it. Like, I had absolutely no idea. And I would ask them if they had talked to their manager and they would say no. First and foremost, if you are looking for a career progression, you have to tell somebody. You have to tell your manager, you have to tell HR. You have to be vocal about it. And one of the reasons why I see people not do that is because they just don't know what their opportunities look like. Or they think, I have to go from an individual contributor to a manager, to a director, to a senior director, to a VP. They just kind of think that career development is vertical, when in a lot of cases, career development can very much so be horizontal. And I give you an example from my own personal experience that I did a stint as a project manager implementing an ERP system in one of our service divisions at a previous employer. And I now approach recruiting very differently because of that project management experience that I have, because of that formal project management training that I have. And when I would train recruiters going forward is I would teach them to manage their requisitions as projects and teach them as project managers. So that experience, while it wasn't, upward mobility in the recruiting realm, it was horizontal and it rounded me out in a way that I never saw coming. So, when you're hesitant to tell a manager or HR that you're looking for career development, oftentimes I see it's because people just have no idea and they think, well, I have to be a manager and I don't know if I want to manage people. So have those conversations with your manager or HR or, to my next point, with a recruiter. So I had a lot of people when I was an in-house recruiter that would come to me and say, hey, what jobs typically open up and what jobs could I be considered based on my skill set? How I know I can go from like a level 1 to level 2 to a 3 to a senior to a manager, but like what else could I do with this skill set? So if you're in-house, you could absolutely talk to a recruiter about that. I have worked for companies where we had like recruiter open houses. We had office hours where people could come and ask us questions, or we did internal job fairs where people could go and meet with the recruiters and we could talk specifically about different jobs and whether it was in a different site or a different department or something like that, and help people kind of make those career transitions, or at least understand what their opportunities were. From an external perspective, if you don't want to talk to a recruiter in your own internal company, there are external recruiters at different firms that you could work with, or career coaches, or search some stuff on LinkedIn. There's a lot of opportunities. So recruiters are your second path. So back to who gets promoted. It's not always the people that work 80 hours a week. And that was one of the things that I would hear internally was, well, I'm not going to work 80 hours a week, and I'm not going to give up all my weekends. Like, I have a family, or I have a second job, or I have sports that I'm a part of, and I coach different teams. Like, I can't work 80 hours a week. I'm not a yes person. I'm never going to get promoted. And I would say very rarely, not in all cases, but very rarely did I ever promote people that were in the office at 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. Typically, the people that were promoted were ones that had the conversations with their managers. They were technically strong in their field, but they had some other attributes that they were really strong in. And those were communication, organization, and time management. So those three areas, having a good grasp on those specific skill sets were typically the lead indicators of the people that I was at least promoting. So from a time management perspective, they were not working 80 hours a week, but they knew how to delegate. They knew how to ask for help. They knew how to structure their time. They knew how to prioritize. They maybe didn't get everything done all the time on time, but they at least knew how to communicate that. They knew how to manage high priority with low priority. And the organization kind of goes hand in hand with that too. Now the communication piece, and this is the leadership coach in me, their ability to communicate and share, one, that they were looking for new positions and career opportunities, but also to being able to talk to a multitude of different people in different backgrounds, different skill sets, different departments. I saw people that were great communicators, not saying that they were always good at their job, because they weren't always, but they were great communicators. Those typically were the people that I was promoting. I cannot think of a time that I promoted someone that didn't know how to communicate to me. And I have worked in predominantly technical fields where communication skills aren't always prioritized over the technical aspects, but I would say the people that were getting promoted were really self-aware of how they communicated, of how other people needed to communicate, and they were able to share that information and work with different departments much easier than someone who was maybe just really technically strong in their field. So like I said, I've also worked with really brilliant people that were really great at their job that got promoted, but they didn't know how to communicate and how to manage. So it absolutely does happen. But the people that I more often than not promoted when I was an internal recruiter were people that had great communication skills, good time management, they were organized, and they knew how to tell people that they were actively looking for positions. Not to say that people weren't passed over, not to say that other people that were probably more qualified didn't get promoted, but typically I would say it's going to be those communication, organization, and time management pieces. So if you are actively looking for your next step and you don't know where to go, you talk to your manager, talk to a recruiter, talk to even like your talent learning and development. If you're at a small company and that isn't something that's available to you, there are often groups or organizations that you can join in your community that would help you kind of gain some of those or gain some of that awareness. Specifically networking groups where you can kind of get some familiarity with just the different skill sets or different industries or different companies in the area, and meet some of those people that can maybe mentor or help give you career advice. And two, you have to learn to communicate. So I would say, you have to, one, not only express your interest, but two, you have to be able to work with people of all backgrounds, of all communication styles, you be able to navigate those challenges. So it really takes some good internal, self-awareness looks at kind of how you're communicating. I do, through Giant, the Giant Leadership Program that I'm certified through, I do have a 5 Voices communication assessment that is linked on both my website and on my features tab on LinkedIn. You could take that assessment. That will give you a very high level overview of your communication style. If you want a more in-depth assessment, you can always contact me. But having awareness into how you're communicating, typically when I would coach people, they had no idea how they came across, how they were talking to other people. I've had people that were like, I'm really assertive in meetings, and I'm the first to come up with ideas, and I'm the first to share my thoughts, and they were just really, really aggressive and scared people away. So having some internal self-awareness conversations with yourself can definitely help you kind of overcome some of those communication challenges and better understand yourself, so that you can communicate with your teams, that you can share your interests. And again, career progression and career development isn't necessarily always vertical. It's not always going 1, 2, 3 senior manager, director, VP, CEO. Sometimes it is taking different opportunities, learning different skill sets, learning different functions that you may have never even thought of. If you would have asked 20-year-old me, I would have never thought I'd be a tech recruiter. So I hope that helps. If you have any other questions, as always, email me at info@unicornrecruitmentandcareerservices.com or message me on any of my social media platforms. Have a wonderful day.